Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us at this e-conference. My name is Naina Acharya, and I am your host for today. Dun & Bradstreet, in association with Control S and Cloud4C, is glad to host this power-packed panel discussion on the pertinent topic, India's top 500 companies charting the roadmap to economic recovery. The ongoing pandemic situation has completely redefined the aspects like business continuity and resilience. As the world continues to grapple with challenges on several fronts, forward-looking businesses are focusing their energies on a new set of priorities. These priorities can help businesses and economies as a whole to navigate through these challenging times and enhance their resiliency by several notches. India's top 500 companies epitomize the front runners among corporate India. These large corporates give their scale and influence and can certainly lead the way in charting the roadmap to economic recovery by focusing on these key priorities. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure all of you are eagerly looking forward to listening to the views of our power-packed panel today. Before we begin, I would like to request everyone to please take a moment and go through the guidelines that have been displayed on your screen right now. Great. I'm sure all of you must have gone through these. Great. Now, the next most important aspect is the engagement. Believe that the engagement in any panel discussion is not possible without your power-packed questions, ladies and gentlemen, and hence we request you to please share your questions in the Ask Questions section. Please do mention who you would wish to address the question to, and at the same time, please be rest assured that your questions will be taken during the Q&A session after the completion of the panel discussion. A couple of tips. We want to know you more. Hence, please mention your name and the name of your organization while posting these questions. Now, we would like to see the agenda. Can you please display the agenda? Great. Let's take a quick look at the flow of today's session. Please refer to the agenda displayed on your screen. Oh, I must say, the fantastic lineup of eminent speakers. I'll give you a moment to scan through the agenda. Well, the stage is all set, ladies and gentlemen. So without further ado, let's get the most awaited and power-packed panel discussion rolling. The discussion is around the topic India's top 500 companies charting the roadmap to economic recovery. Our panel features a great mix of thought leaders, which includes head honchos of companies that feature in this year's universe of India's top 500 companies, experts on ESG and sustainability, as well as leaders in the field of transformative technologies. Our viewers can certainly look forward to some great key takeaways from today's proceedings. We will begin by introducing the person who will help us steer the discussion and conversation and bring today's panel discussion to life. Ladies and gentlemen, today's session will be moderated and anchored by none other than Mr. Avinash Gupta, Managing Director and CEO, India, Dun & Bradstreet. Dun & Bradstreet as a company is great, but people who are leading it are even better. He is responsible for the organization's go-to-market strategy and business operations. With Dun & Bradstreet's focus on growing the MSME and SME businesses in India, he recently took over as a co-chairman of the ASSOCHAM MSME Development Council. Mr. Gupta is highly experienced, execution-focused senior leader with a strong global background and brings more than 3 decades of experience and a vast network of business relationships. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Avinash Gupta. Now, I do hear a good round of applause. Thank you so much. Let me now introduce the eminent panel lineup. And without any particular order, I would like to first introduce Mr. Sridhar Pinappu Reddy. And he is a person who heads a company that offers top-notch solutions in data centers, cloud environment, multi-available zones, and disaster recovery architecture. Again, let's welcome Mr. Sridhar Pinappu Reddy, founder and chairman, Control S and Cloud4C Services Private Limited. Welcome and thank you for joining us, Mr. Pinappu Reddy. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for him. I would like to share that Mr. Pinappu Reddy will have to leave a little bit early, but we are hoping that he will be there with us throughout the session. Nonetheless, if there are any questions that you have for Mr. Reddy, please feel free to share it right from the beginning of the session. Thank you so much. Our next panelist is the ESG expert for today's proceedings. She has the sustainability and community development initiatives across the value chain of India's FMCG giant, Hindustan Unilever Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, Please put your hands together for Ms. Kanika Pal, South Asia Head, Community Investments and Sustainability Program, Hindustan Unilever. Our third panelist is the CEO of one of India's leading manufacturers and exporters of niche value-added manganese alloys. The company has emerged as a reputed provider of customized manganese alloys to large and growing steel companies across the globe. Dear friends, join me in welcoming with a round of applause the Chief Executive Officer of Mython Alloys Limited, Mr. Subodh Agarwal. Our next panelist represents one of India's leading integrated building material companies with a wide range of products, including cement, ready-mixed, concrete, tiles, and bath products. The company has 3 divisions: Cement, HR Johnson India, and RMC India. Please put your hands together for Mr. Atul Desai, Executive Director and CEO of the RMC India division at Prism Johnson Limited.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Desai, and thank you so much for taking time out from your schedule. Our fourth panelist is at the helm of affairs of one of the most trusted solution companies, not just in India, but across the globe. His company delivers digital business acceleration, enterprise modernization, and next generation product engineering services. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dr. Anil Deshpande, founder, chairman, and managing director, Persistent Systems. Welcome and thank you, sir, so much for taking time out from your schedule. And now, last but not the least, our final guest heads one of India's well-known players in the retail segment. The company is considered as one of the pioneers in the business of value retailing through a chain of stores spread across Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Lalit Agarwal, Chairman and MD, V-Mart Retail Limited, with a big round of applause. Welcome, Mr. Agarwal. I welcome all of you once again, and I request all of you to please come on video. And let's dive into the eagerly awaited panel discussion. I would now request Mr. Avinash Gupta to please proceed and take over the proceedings. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
we have Mr. Sridhar, who's just joined us. So great. So thanks so much, Avinash, and over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks, Nana. Thanks for all the introductions. Very kind of you for the generous introductions for most of us, I think. Thank you. And please, as we go through this, technology has its own way of working out well, sometimes not so well. So please come back in if there's anything which is, watch, correct us as we go along if it's not audible too well or things of that kind. So thanks for that. So again, guys, thank you so much for making the time. Thank you for everybody for making the time this afternoon. We've got the afternoon slot, so we've got to lighten it up and live it up as well in terms of our comments and observations. But as part of Dun & Bradstreet, it's a great pleasure on behalf of all my colleagues to welcome you and thank you for the time, the business as well for some of you, and the support you give to my team and colleagues. So very much appreciate that. We are a very old legacy firm. We've been around the block for 200 years. So we pride ourselves for that. In India, it's a little less. It's only 26 years, but we hope we can do 200 years in India as well. So it's great to be part of the story of the roadmap for economic recovery in India. And I think that's why we've got a varied background with varied sectors in our panel. And maybe we'll always be short on time to discuss everything, but hopefully we can cover some of the aspects which may be more relevant in the short term and the medium term as we look out into the long term. So I think we were just talking a little bit before we went live on the panel that what's the view on the third wave and stuff. So I guess there is so much uncertainty around. There is so much. Donald Rumsfeld just passed away 10 days ago, and his famous comment was the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns as well. So who knows what's going to happen? But I think from the perspective we sit, I guess each one of us, and I keep telling my colleagues as well, that we are quite fortunate in our space, in our corporate profile, corporate strength, not only capital, but technology, bench strength, reach, branding, and all of that. And honestly, in our mind, when I look back at, and I think it was Mr. Desai who was asking, made the comment on the third wave. When I look back at what happened to us, for example, in the second wave, I think we were quite well prepared, honestly. And although it did impact people and colleagues physically, medically, families, but from a work perspective, it was surprising that the impact was not too much. And it just actually shows not only on the technology and the resilience and everything else which pulls together. But I think also the human ability of people to kind of think of solution, provide solutioning to their clients and pull it all together. So it'll be great to hear some of those stories. One can always hear depressing stories, but it's always good to hear the positive side as well. So I really look forward to you to sharing some of those. From a macro perspective, as you know, as I think I was saying, one can be positive and one has to be positive. But I guess from a global perspective and an India perspective, it's all relative, and who knows how things are going to impact. We are not insulated or isolated in any way. For some of us who follow the global situation and global markets, yesterday was an interesting one as well in terms of the correction of the markets for a prospective slowness on the economy. The US economy itself is supposed to grow at 7% on a 25 million trillion dollar number is humongous. For India to grow at 9% is not that great. So I guess those are things which we need to keep in mind. Expectations around interest rates, expectations around inflation, those are all going to impact our ecosystem as well in some shape or form. I mean, this week I took a lot of positive steps away from what the government did in terms of some of the changes at the top in the cabinet, the ministries, and I guess that just shows that there's a focus on growth as well. And in terms of what's happening in the cost of money, I guess that's going to remain fairly low for a while. So those are some good things which can happen. Hopefully, will lead us to the right path. So let me start the panel off, and really as we discussed amongst ourselves, keep it fairly free flowing. And please, if there's anything you'd like to add, I'll direct questions maybe at a few people as we go along. But if there's anything anybody has, please do add to the conversation. So maybe I'll start with Mr. Deshpande to begin with. Mr. Deshpande sits in Pune. I've seen him in that chair for some time now, and he manages the business not only which is local, but also has people sitting right across the world, West Coast, East Coast, Boston. Maybe Mr. Deshpande, given that perspective, given the industry you are in, given what you saw among your clients, and I think, when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, there were a couple of things you managed to do, even in the downturn, in the lockdown, with your clients, some new stuff as well, new proposals, new propositions. Where do you see the current situation, and what are some of your top priorities amongst yourself and your clients as you look out at, how business is done and how business will be done going forward? Mr. Deshpande?
Yes. So first, thanks a lot for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be on this forum, and thank you, Dun & Bradstreet, for making this happen. Clearly, the pandemic really turned things around, but in some sense, the IT or the technology industry that I'm part of has been really fortunate in the sense that we were already working in this sort of distributed environment for many years. And now that we had to, we found that it was easier to work locally from within the offices as well. So offices were shut down. So everybody was working from home. So some of the main issues that we had to fix to get started early on was mainly around making sure everyone had laptop security arrangements were set up, VPNs were set up, we sort of installed some new software to make that all happen, and people were moved very quickly to Teams and Zoom. And I must say that, as a member of the technology industry, I think it is very hard to imagine how this pandemic would have hit us if this were 15 years back when we did not have the network or the video calls or the Zooms or Teams. Life would have been really, really hard. And there was a very recent article by Mark Andreessen who talks about the importance of technology and how the fact that this happened now was so good in the sense that the technology was already there, vaccines could come out in less than a year, and a lot of these other things that happened. So I think looking ahead, I believe technology will play an even more important role. Over the last 12 to 18 months, more and more businesses all across India have started to become cloud enabled in some form or the other. They are all digital and compliant with digital technologies. And I think this is really good for India because now we have businesses and individuals and a market that has happened virtually. We are all a large country here with a lot of distribution of people all across. And the fact that we have a common internet and a network that can help us sell and buy across the network just makes it so much more different and exciting that I'm really looking forward for the next few years as soon as we are allowed to travel and the masks come off.
need to take myself on mute. So no, thank you for that. And the mask, who knows when the mask will come off. I was participant to one of the sessions with some of the ministers in the government, and actually one of the ministers made a comment that in India we are going in for double mask while Europe opens up. So I guess we want to be careful here, which is no bad thing at all. But building on that, Mr. Sridhar, if I can come to you now in terms of because you also are running a business actually now. I guess co-located outside India, in India, and you've been doing that for a while. Maybe adding on to that, where do you see, given the context that you have a closer perspective on Asia, which I guess expected to grow even faster than our part of Asia. What do you see some of the drivers which might be relevant for India, and how may some of those drivers really be accelerated by some of the things happening in the bigger ecosystem and geopolitics as well?
Fair enough. I know, Avinash, you are an expert on this subject, as well as eminent panel here. But I'll give you a few of my observations, despite the fact that I'm no economic recovery expert. What I'm seeing is some of the countries, how they are gearing up. Of course, the vaccination is important. The faster we do it, the better it is, and so that we can open up much more without a lot of fear. But use of technology, I think, to curtail the next waves of the pandemic. I think that's something that India must implement. I believe, look at Singapore, for example. Their Trace Together app is so successful that the second wave and third wave, they never happened. I mean, they came, but they were curtailed within a matter of weeks and without any damage. So they could maintain the numbers at below 10 because of this use of technology. I would say that that is extremely important. I'm sure with the IT, biggies that we have, it shouldn't be very difficult. Yeah. And another thing that I see is we need to. There are many sectors which are going through real trouble because of the pandemic. And in general, as a result, the economy sluggish growth. So if you can speed up those projects, which would put money into the hands of the people quicker than those other projects, if you can reprioritize our spending, I think we could. There are some certain projects which put 80% of the money into the hands of people directly and within a very, very short period of time. I think we should reprioritize them, bring them forward, and push those which do not aid in, in recovering the growth faster, push them behind. I think so. Some of these could come into my mind.
Absolutely. I think I think one of the things which we were hoping to cover on this panel was on the commodity side. Unfortunately, that panelists had something else more pressing today. But the whole infrastructure spend, as you rightly said, the macro spend, which right from, there seems to be a global competition to spend on heavy infrastructure. The US wants to put $1 trillion. The European Union's done the super bonds. They're looking to put $1 trillion. And in the geopolitics, I guess if the US and the Europe are spending, China is not going to be left behind. And that's, as we are seeing in the effectively in some kind of super commodity cycle building up, steel. All the commodities really trade, even oil which is bad for India, even oil having gone back so high up, India been spending close to $80-90 billion on import of oil. That's obviously, but you're rightly saying it, it's a direct contributor to GDP, generates employment and generates cash to a large number of people. And that obviously is very beneficial. But just Sridhar, coming back to what Mr. Deshpande also referred to in terms of the cloud, and you touch a large number of customers. I believe you have something like 5,000 plus customers. who you kind of touch, service over in your business. Now, what have you seen as some of in the interactions you've had over the last 12, 15 months, the issues, the pain points? How have you kind of changed your business in terms of people, processes, and all of that to make it more relevant to your customers and make it more sticky as well?
As Mr. Anand said, just quickly change over to work from home. It was easy because we were 100% on cloud, and the business continuity measures. We were a data center, we are a cloud company, and we work with almost at least 1/3 of Fortune 500 customers and 1/3 of Fortune 50 customers. So our processes were, the DR and business continuity processes were well made. So for us, it was a smooth sailing. We never had to, say sorry or delay an hour of any customer requirement. What we are seeing in the customer landscape is, there is definitely a lot more acceleration towards cloud. Pandemic has proved that those organizations which relied on cloud were in a much better position to handle the situation than those who were not. So there was a clear acceleration that I've seen. And another trend that we have seen is that those organizations which invested in digital transformation over the last 5-10 years have faced the pandemic much better than those who haven't done any digital transformation projects. That's very, very clearly visible. Because digital transformation, some of the projects allowed this transition to work from home world and contactless applications, or the contactless commerce that we call it as, have helped those organizations which has done these digital transformation projects. What else I'm seeing is the banks were mostly looking at their own data centers or private cloud pre-pandemic. What I've seen is that the banks are looking at towards a cloud more, much more welcoming to get onto the cloud. We are working with one of the large banks in, for example, Middle East called Mashreq, which has decided to put the entire 2,000 plus applications onto the public cloud itself. We're also working on with the Qatar government, for example, who's decided that they will transform their all their applications onto the cloud. These kind of migrations we have never seen before, even before 2 years.
True. So that's really accelerated the whole process, as you're saying, Sridhar, and that's absolutely right. And I think, in what I was saying in my opening comments as well, it's a little unfortunate, but that's going to be the reality of the world. As you rightly said, people who invested, and I guess it's people who invest who have the capital and the foresight. And that's typically the more organized people, the larger people who have the wherewithal, the bandwidth, the resources to make it happen. So in some strange, sad way, this pandemic is actually accelerating the consolidation, if I can call it. And that obviously will have its own challenges in terms of economic growth. And a lot of us talk and spend a lot of time on the SME community and things of that kind, which are the most hurt. And one will have to see how to kind of, help those through. And that's where I think the Western governments have done a much better job in terms of, even in Singapore, I guess, the furloughs and helping the smaller businesses out in terms of support. While in India, we've had a little bit tough one on that. And that could be interesting kind of paradigm to go through, that the big are going to get bigger, but how do you carry the rest of the community along? Because no community can go along, just the big get bigger for sure. So no, thanks for your comments on that. Moving from the tech side, the cloud, to something, which is, if Mr. Desai is now available, in terms of, really the building blocks of the economy, if I can call it so. Mr. Desai runs the heavy infrastructure RMC business. And, Mr. Desai, it'll be good to hear from you in terms of, where you have seen things evolve. Obviously, yours is a high touch business in many ways. Over the last, year, 15 months, how things have evolved for you. How have you had to look at your supply chains, your customer sets, and what are some of the trends in your industry, what you're seeing as business picks up, as economy is open, and also in terms of possibly, if you can, some of the broader pointers in terms of, the broader industry, building materials, which obviously, as I said, infrastructure is really going to be a keystone in terms of the build out. Mr. Desai?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, DNP, for this function. I think last 1.5 years, we have learned a lot to de-learn as early as possible. So the biggest learning, I would say, is there are several myths what we were carrying for doing the business is very well challenged. And today, all of us believe that there's a lot of way to do a business better. The business become more competitive, not from the production or productivity point of view, but even from the customer expectations is also substantially increased. We being the industry where we are the second largest employee generating industry in the country after agriculture. So government has rightly focused on that industry during this pandemic time. There are several things what were not happening in the past, like you rightly said that a lot of physical contacts are always happen in our industry. Our sites are full with the manpower. And in this pandemic situation where social distancing is to be maintained and availability of labor was a huge problem because most of the laborers are migrant labor in a city like major cities. And government push for infrastructure. And I think the last 1 year, the industry was survived because of government spends on agriculture, infrastructure, especially on the roads and metros. That was given us a tremendous push, or I would say the scenario was comfortable only because of that push. So at the demand side, the time was very, very crucial in the infrastructure projects where speed is required, and second side, availability of labor was a huge issue. So a lot of automation mindset, which was not earlier in industry, it got a pace. Now, adaptation and acceptance. Adaptation of the new technology and acceptance and learning from the operating people was, I would say, in my last 25 years, this pace was never seen. In fact, digitization was, the penetration is substantially improved during the last couple of months. Acceptance was improved. And some of the things which was not common is considered common. So I think as an industry become more modern, more technological savvy, and the focus is to go on a more IoT-based operation of the plants. At the same time, people now start talking about artificial intelligence for quality maintenance and robotics utilizations. So a lot of technology, people are using the technology, what I would say is the acceptance at a senior team, at the same time, learning at the lower end, both were substantially this time.
And Mr. Desai, just following up on that, are you seeing that now become a serious competitive advantage for companies like yourself? Or is everybody on the even keel, really?
I think the faster who learn or de-learn will be the winner. At least a lot of focus is now coming on building up on efficiency building, because inflationary pressure is a huge, because oil is going high and we are the killer of energy. So, and the way it is still going on and on, the question is how do we really, and customers are not ready to accept, because real estate industry is still not at their full pace, and all government projects are fixed price projects. So it's very difficult to pass on the cost. So we have only left out to build up efficiency. So technology will support us to build up a better and better efficiency to come ahead or stand ahead than the other competitors.
Great. Mr. Desai, I'll come back to you on specifically on you said on the energy dependency and maybe around ESG later. But just in terms of outlook for on your specific sector, broader sector, just to not to put you on the spot, but what do you feel is there a long runway to be had, or is it going to be ups and downs as we go through? I think you're in mute, Mr. Desai.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
now you're there.
Yeah. I think the worst is over, or I would say we have kept it behind. Our real estate, after several years of shocks, is now coming out because of a lower interest rate and easy availability to the home buyers. The loans are available plenty at a very competitive rate. This rate was never in the past several years. So as of credit and several initiatives government has taken, especially in Maharashtra in the past, where stamp duty was reduced substantially. And so real estate is coming up very aggressively. Government focus is also on infrastructure side. So on the demand side, we are very hopeful that very soon we will be in a double-digit growth. So
great. No, thank you for that. That's good to hear. Sridhar, just coming back to you, because as Naina said, you may have to run. I hope you can stay longer. You mentioned the work that you're doing in, I guess, UAE with Mashreq and with Qatar. You mentioned. Are there any kind of, having spent some time myself in the Middle East working in banks, is there any kind of, when you interact with these clients, Mashreq, the Qatar government, as you said, are there any takeaways for us in our geography? And I guess there is a lot more. I know Mashreq, for example, was looking to outsource a lot more of its functions and make it more efficient in bringing them into India. But are there things which we could do which would help the Indian economy kind of grow faster, which could benefit from the learnings in that part of the world? You're on mute, Sridhar. Sorry.
Economic recovery can be much faster if we can handle pandemic better. There's no doubt about it. Probably we can learn from New York State. They've used intelligent technologies like data visualization, etc., to address pandemic much better.
Yes.
Like China and Singapore are doing with contact tracing apps. That will definitely put us, to immediate road to, recovery. Apart from that, in terms of what can we learn from the, developed world is, for example, again, COVID makes me think of healthcare. We don't have a healthcare registry, for example. Right? And the central government is, I think, coming up with plans. But developing country has always different priorities in terms of where we budget our things. But that could create a much better healthcare and could also be extremely handy in the case of to address the pandemic as well. There are various other simple digital transformation projects, starting from going to cloud to doing as very low value add or the low hanging fruits, we call it, as customer touch points, and the way that the different islands of information, which in large corporates, and how do you get them together, make them work together. These are some of the low hanging fruits. As will create a big impetus to the organizations within India, I would say, and then lead to recovery. Technology can do, one thing I can say is that technology can do a lot for businesses. Yeah, the only thing is that business leaders think of the coming year balance sheet. If they think of the next 5-year balance sheet, I think all these investments will show extremely, 10, 20x the faster pace, I would say.
Right. Well put, Sridhar, and that actually is maybe leads me to the next thing with Kanika. As you rightly said, it's how business leaders want to look at things and how maybe market realities force business leaders to look at things as well. Kanika spends a lot of time on ESG and the broader issues there at Unilever. And ESG definitely is in a good way, but as if there were not many things to think about. As you rightly said, capital is also now started looking at ESG, where capital flows is governed very strongly now by ESG going forward. Now, that's a good thing. But as you rightly said, you might as a business leader want to focus on the 5 years and bring the technology and all of that into play and amortize that and the benefits of it over a longer period. But the markets and investors have a different way of looking at things. So Kanika, maybe coming from where you sit, obviously, as I said, we have the benefit of sitting in very large organizations which have the luxury of the knowledge and the resources to pull things together. ESG, the whole component of it, when you look at it, the environmental, social, and governance, being such a broad kind of, broad brush, and covers really everything from a corporate perspective. And as a finance person, when we look at it, the simple logic is that, if as an investor you invest in ESG companies, you typically will make a better return. That's the mantra. And over a period of time, the brown companies will make a lesser return. But how does it look at from where you sit? And maybe if it's possible, it'd be great to hear your comments as well on the broader ecosystem as well, and how we struggle. For example, in Dun & Bradstreet, we do a lot of work for the SMEs in terms of giving them credibility, visibility in our data cloud. And a lot of the things which some of the bigger customers are now asking for is ESG scores on smaller companies. How do you kind of pull all that together in a fair way where everybody benefits from the ecosystem? It'll be good to see what you have done at Unilever and what you're seeing in the broader industry.
Sure, Avinash, and thanks so much for having me here. Avinash, I just want to sort of, before I dive deeper into it, I just want to take a little bit of backseat and kind of talk about the obvious, which is that environment, social, and the governance around it, in a sense, is not new to India. We have companies that have been doing it. It may not have been coined as ESG. We as Indians also do have the tradition of Daan, which then took shape of philanthropy, or we do have, charity, which runs in certain big corporations as well. And Tatas are the best case example of that. But essentially, as the world is changing and it's becoming more complex, with growth being pegged the way growth is traditionally pegged with respect to GDP, I think the economic value itself is being viewed in a lens which must include the financial and the non-financial disclosures. But somewhere in the non-financial aspect of it as well, there is finance coming in, right? Because now you have the Natural Capital Coalition and a lot of organizations that are putting monetary value to the business risk for environment, for social, and therefore the governance that needs to be built in there. Now, with this overview, I just want to talk about Unilever. In Unilever, we do not have a CSR sustainability department as such. Sustainability is very much embedded in the business strategy. So we have a Unilever compass that guides us through all the business decisions that we take. And very specifically, we are talking of, you're asking me about MSMEs or the smaller businesses. I, as a person with the hat that I wear, I actually get down to the grassroots level to even see what kind of GDP impact does it have at the village economy level with certain decisions that I, as an influencer, a corporate operating in that area, may be able to unlock or unfold for the local communities. So to my mind, essentially, there are already changing tides in the country and in the global, economy, if I could just put it like that, that have been influencers. And the reason why ESG is not new, but it's taken so much of precedence simply because climate change and the path to net zero is something that has become very, very relevant. We are signatory to the Paris Accord. We have emission reductions that need to be done as part of business imperative. So the moment you're looking at energy efficiency, how is it that a business is able to link that to climate change and then look at the path to net zero? That itself has a contributing act to the ESG, So it's really about some of these nuggets that the corporates should be able to make connections with and report back to the wider audiences. Similarly, on governance, it's no longer about the C-suite or the office bearers just knowing what's happening in the company. It's also about how is it that they are influencing this non-financial and financial performance complementing each other, and also about their own takeaway, packages with respect to some of these performances on ESG, as globally we're seeing that's becoming more and more as part of the trend. So I think good governance again becomes a little more, the tonality sort of changes here from the global perspective. I think the third driver that on data and technology we've already spoken about continues to be very important for ESG as well, because here suddenly you will have data, artificial intelligence, blockchain, machine learning, all of these coming together at the very core of environmental and social performance for the companies to then decode a lot of their impact on the ground. And how is it that, you're intelligently linking all of this to your economic performance? So like I said, if your non-financial performance gets monetized and what is the cost for the business risk that I'm mitigating by putting in money, say, for example, on energy efficiency or water mapping and water governance from where I'm drawing water, automatically you are being able to get back to your investors on a lot of monetary savings that could be in the larger P&L of the company as well. And the fourth, I think, big driver for us in the ESG therefore will be also on the social aspect of diversity and inclusion. Gone are the days when we can say it's a particular kind of people or a certain jobs which are for men or women. Right now, we are not just talking about at the boardroom level diversity. It's all very fancy and nice to talk about the boardroom level diversity, but the diversity now is also about LGBTQI. It's also about people with disability. It is also about transgender. And I don't have to speak about it. Unilever has a lot there out in the public domain on what we are doing on each of these aspects, from our brands, paving the way on that, to what is happening at the corporate level as well. I think these drivers with the evolving laws, with SEBI in May 21 this year, taking out the ESG reporting requirement on the business responsibility and sustainability reporting, that would force the Indian CFOs to have the organization priorities aligned to some of these things, be it climate change at the highest level, diversity and inclusion, at the highest level, or even looking at your own internal policies, because this is where the money is. This is where investors are asking you for disclosures, and it makes absolute business sense, Avinash. To my mind, I don't think now we are in a day and age where it is any different, because COVID has very clearly shown us that one virus in one part of the world can disrupt your business in this part of the world or any part of the world. And it's not different from how you run business regular. To my mind, ESG is actually now business as usual. And if it is not business for usual for multinational corporations or for smaller, businesses, then somewhere they will probably, survival of the fittest, they'll miss out on the race and they will cease to exist. But essentially for companies who are able to make this into their own brand value, their product value, their people value, and their corporate essential core value, I think they are going to be the ones who are going to be winners from even a profitability perspective in the long run. And therefore, we were just chatting yesterday as well, and I was also highlighting the fact that CRISIL's latest ratings of, the on ESG with the 225 companies across 18 sectors that they've just come out last month, and it very clearly showcases which sectors are doing very well in ESG and which sectors, because of heavy dependence on natural resource, would be less in the rating. And I think for them, even more so, it makes a very important business case to be able to showcase how ESG gets integrated into the entire chain of business running, not just from investors' perspective, but stakeholder involvement and credibility and materiality of the company. Therefore, to my mind, for any corporate, in any sector, a very true materiality of assessment of what is the real issue on ESG that they need to address and be able to showcase their performance on that is an absolute business case.
No, very comprehensive comments, Kanika. Thank you for that. I mean, it's a very kind of emotive and decisive issue, I guess, but its time has come in many ways. In my own personal context, and maybe at the end of it, we are running tight on time, but at the end of it, I'll ask the other panelists also. In my own personal opinion, I know sometimes these things, when they become very prescriptive, have their own challenges on businesses and business leaders. I think what Mr. Deshpande and Sridhar also kind of referred to. I mean, it's, and sometimes in some countries, the base level of income and economic equality may have not happened as well. So I think these are real life challenges, but I think the time of this has come really. And in many ways, when money talks, everybody has to listen. So I think in this case, capital is going to flow accordingly. And I think everybody is nodding, but there's nothing to be left, but you have to get your act together on the ESG front. So thank you for that, Kanika. Moving on from that, and maybe I'll come back to that topic later. In terms of maybe Subodh, if I can come to you, we've gone to Singapore, we haven't made it to Calcutta as yet, so maybe I'll come to Calcutta. In terms of your industry, Subodh, you again, like Mr. Desai, very much in the manufacturing space, making stuff, possibly exporting a fair bit of it as well. It'll be great to hear from you how you see the outlook on some of the things and some of the challenges you had, possibly specifically on your supply chain side, possibly as to what could, we've seen a lot of work happening with our clients, where clients have come to us in terms of identifying alternate suppliers because they've had issues in terms of the global supply chain breaking down. They don't want to be reliant on the few people they used to rely on earlier. I know just in time is really kind of maybe had its time, while ESG is rising, just in time is going down. It'll be great, Subodh, to hear from you. What are some of the trends you're seeing and some of the challenges, and how do you handle them over the last 12, 15 months? Subodh?
Yeah, thank you, Avinash. First of all, I'd like to take a minute, to paint the broader picture of building an organization which is robust and it is sustainable. Clearly, in my perspective, the 3 points which are extremely important are: 1, noble intention, to be followed by 2, credible action, and to be followed 3, by appropriate communication. Now, once you have these 3 in place, so this is the macro picture. If you have these things in place, then a lot of things follow suit. I would not want to, comment on the technology and the data part, which my fellow panelists have already spent a lot of time, and they are in a better position to do that. Now, from that macro perspective, if you go into the micro perspective of the supply chain, I would say that the 2 things which are extremely important is: 1, fostering the right partnerships, and 2, earning the loyalty of the vendors and service providers by adding value to their businesses. Typically, we tend to be focused on adding value to our business without appreciating the fact that until and unless we add value to somebody else's business, they will not be loyal to us and they will not be servicing us. So, in times of crisis, when people are stretched and they are able to service their clients lesser, in that case, they will try to support their clients to whom their loyalty is higher. And that loyalty comes, from the relationships and from the value that the vendor's business earns out of the particular client. So we have been doing this thankfully correctly over the last 1 decade. And we could see the positive outcome of this during these uncertain times, wherein because of our proper communication and our intentions, our people reported to work. Absenteeism was very low. We also realized that the spread of the virus was extremely low in an open, non-AC type of an environment like a shop floor of the factory. So in our offices, the virus was spreading faster, but in the shop floor, the virus was spreading much, much slower, maybe 10x lesser. So hardly any people really got affected. So when we talk about the rural folks not getting affected, my takeaway would be not because of the immune system, but because they are living in a non-AC environment wherein dilution takes place and the virus concentration is low in the working spaces that they encounter. Because of this, we were having good attendance in our factories, although it was slightly lower in accordance with the government laws. We had to make certain restrictions, but even then we managed fairly well. And because of the loyalty that we had, earned in the eyes of our employees, they were all out for us, and this magnified, into how other people perceived us, including our vendors and the suppliers. So, for example, let us say that our transporter who did not have enough trucks, so they would give trucks to us rather than going to our competitor because they were happy working with us. So, because of all these factors working, I think we've had a fairly smooth run. We've had hiccups, but we've not had accidents.
No, good to hear that, and good to hear that, I guess building a long-term ecosystem around you helped you in these difficult times as well. I guess other people have not been so lucky, but such is the world. Moving rapidly on, Mr. Lalit, thank you for joining. You run a very different business, and to all the businesses we've talked about so far. You obviously touch a lot of cities across and towns across India as well with your business, and you obviously have a very large online presence as well on the retailing side. It'd be great, Mr. Agarwal, to hear from you as how things have evolved for you. What are some of the challenges you're seeing? Obviously, online shopping and no contact shopping and all of that. How are you adapting to that? And how do you see the future for yourself and in general for your specific sector as well?
Thank you, Avinash, and thank you. I was delighted hearing all the panelists, especially Kanika. And Kanika, I know HUL has been taking up this subject. This is definitely something which Indians breathe in, and हमारे संस्कार में and हमारे heritage में और हमारे culture में. So sustainability, ESG, all part of ESG, whether it is sanskar, whether it is governance, which is called ethics, values, or even the side of dan or helping others. I would not call dan, but taking care of people, taking care of environment, and taking care of yourself. So definitely, I veto that thought. So coming back to my thought, yeah. So as I also heard Subodh speaking about how did he take care of the ecosystem which helped them during pandemic. So that's what entire organization at V-Mart did. And we operate more than 280 stores across 22 states. So we've got far reach. We've got 6,000 people on board. We've got more than 1,000 suppliers on board. We've got more than 20 million customers who come to our place. So we started looking at people, taking their care, helping them, understanding. But largely, things definitely did not go as what we wanted. But people, the relationship do work, and people do work. And then there are what we saw, aspirations are there. Definitely people want to take care, but they have also taken care of others. And that's what has gone across, whether it is customer or it is employee or it is the ecosystem. Largely, what we see, the rural India has been much better. The smaller town has been much better as far as the intensity of COVID or handling the way they handled the COVID, and also the intensity or the agility in which they came back, and the resilience that they showed up, the way they dealt with this COVID scenario. I think was much better in the smaller town. Definitely larger towns, we saw a larger impact because the lockdown periods were high, and then the consumption, there were a lot of even I would not call unemployment, but there was a fear of unemployment that people had, which was psychologically. So consumption, what I'm seeing is coming back fast. Wherever regulatory authorities are allowing us to open, that the consumption seems to come fast because people are tired of sitting at home. They've also realized that bus ho gaya. We don't know how much life we have, but whatever we have in hand, let's enjoy. Let's go out. Let's spend. Let's consume. And that's a part of happiness. And everyone wants to be happy. So what we are seeing now on the ground is happiness quotient is becoming a little more bigger. People want to be happy, and for happiness, shopping is one of the key intoxicant. And people want to come out and shop. It's a lot of online and a lot of on the screen and a lot of on the portals, and then just doing the same thing. They're tired of it. I would definitely not demotivate Sridhar. I agree with Sridhar wherever he pitched in. Cloud is the way forward. Digital is the way forward. There's no doubt about it. It is there in our life and everyone's life, and it will definitely remain there. It is going to penetrate more and more in every people's life and every businesses and every consumer space. So that we can't leave away that. So that's what we adopt. We have adopted, and that's what we are seeing customer also getting adopted. So people are also adopting digitalization. They are putting digitalization on use also now. And they have started in times of crisis, in times of need, they have started using it very well. And we saw that even in our Omni approach, even in our Omni channel, the adoption rate, or even in smaller town with those kind of consumer who could not, who are not too literate, we saw a good amount of penetration coming in there. But it is not, we did not see it sustainable, because definitely these people, the small town audience, are largely need-based people who consume very little, and they consume very analytically. And after a lot of research, and for them, consumption on aspirational products are like investments, and they take their investment decision not looking at photograph, but touching it, feeling it, and enjoying it. So largely what we are seeing here is, India is going to bounce back very fast. We are seeing that vibration on the ground. That's going to lead a lot of growth. And I'm seeing a lot of good things in the morning. I was attending the CII meet, and I was also seeing a lot of good stuff coming in terms of whether people are hiring more, their businesses, and the volume of the businesses, and also the way the economy is supposed to grow. Still, the data is saying that we will grow at 11%, which is huge and which is going to be good. So we will definitely, there are difficult times. We have come over it. And I think India will fight out, looking at the vaccination program, looking at our own agility, looking at the speed of the youth that we have. I don't think the world is going to bend us down. We will definitely lead the way. We will consume, and we will. It's more a consumption economy. It's definitely more an agri economy also, which is a big driver. So no one can defeat that side. Well, that side is going very good. Monsoon is expected to be very good. So that will once again become a very good driver of consumption, very good driver of the economy. So I am seeing positive things around. I think positivity is what we need to drive, and we will definitely come up and grow much more faster than what we have.
No, great, Mr. Agarwal. So I think you covered a lot of points in there. You touched upon the unemployment bit, which obviously the numbers are the numbers, but you will know the reality better on the ground. I think you talked about the uptake, and I guess there was uptake. Then the GST collections recently have not been so good. So I guess it's a mixed bag in many ways in terms of, and obviously the concern.
I know, Avinash, past has not been good, but what we are expecting is future, and what are we going to do tomorrow and day after. So I don't want to talk only about the postmodern things. What we need to target, and how do we shape ourselves in the price, in terms of resources, in terms of capability, and that's what I'm trying to understand.
Right. And in looking forward, Mr. Agarwal, when you look at it, have you changed anything substantially in terms of your business, your mix, your ecosystem, your suppliers, or all of that has resonated quite well going forward?
Mostly it has resonated quite well. We were quite prepared in terms of digitalization. Definitely the approach towards digitalization is much more bettered, both from people's side on adoption, whether it is our own employees, or it is also the vendor base, or it is also the consumers. So we've seen better adoptions coming in. We have seen definitely people are becoming more casual and more relaxed. So they are using more of relaxed wear and casual wear, and you know, all those hard, tight, formal wears are out of fashion. That's not coming up. So we are seeing more of that coming in, and definitely, offices size are shrinking, but we also need emotion quotient in. So we need one-on-one, face-to-face also. So I mean, it did change for a while. Online and work from home was definitely something which is large, but for retailer like us, it's definitely more physical and physical.
Yeah, no, the Zoom line collection of everybody is quite interesting for sure. I mean, I have had many calls with many people where, you know, once the call is over, you can see that the Zoom, the top half of the body is very well attired, but the second half is not. But that's a good way to put it. No, great. Thank you for those comments. Mr. Desai, if I can come back, we are pretty much, I'd like to open it up to questions, and maybe Naina is keeping a track of that. But Mr. Desai, before we go to questions, is it okay for me to ask you for some comments, given the industry you are in, and specifically on ESG? You know, how do you see it from where you sit in terms of the energy intensity also, which you touched upon in some of your opening comments?
See, ESG is rightly, Kanika has said, it's a part. It is not the social limbo. It's basically is a competitiveness. So so ESG is a part of the business, and people have to really think about how do we build up the competitiveness under the ESG. We have to think from when we talk about ESG, energy is a big cost. Now, energy may be in a form of transportation, energy is in form of electricity, energy is in a form of raw material consumption or CO2. So whatever the way we think about, we have to really be careful and be very focused on how do we reduce the consumption, or how do we really move to the alternative options to our main CO2 generator is the cement. So how do we reduce that? That is always a top of the mind discussion. So why, without diluting the quality of the end product concrete, how do we reduce the cement consumption? And how do we really do an innovative way to consume alternative options like fly ash or GGPS or any other microsilica? So many other products are available. So alternative options are at the consumption side. Second issue is when you look at the transportation. Now we have to think in both the side, on an operational side of a consumption, at the same time strategic way of sourcing of the size of the equipments. So both are we cannot be a casual approach. So strategically we are sourcing the vehicle of right sizing so that overall cost of transporting per ton can reduce. So size is important, and operational efficiency building, like a per kilometer operation or utilizing the brakes and other services as low as possible. So that's area is the operational side. I'm looking at the transportation. So transportation has to look at from these two sides. Similarly, on a cost side, energy consumption, and especially water consumption, because water is a big we consume a lot of water. So at a company level, Prism Johnson level, we internally decided we will remain a water positive company. So a lot of cost, whatever consume we water at any of the locations. So internally we are committed to our society at nearby our plant that we will generate more water than what we consume. So a lot of water harvesting we're doing, reducing the water consumption by utilizing some various other technology, innovative way of reducing the water consumption, recycling of the water as much as possible. So that is another side of a sustainability when we talk about. Energy side, there are also various sides we talk about. One is a solar energy we are going for in a big way. So and reducing the power consumptions at each level. So So there are so many areas where we talk about energy gadgets. And one more part is a diesel consumption. So we have to think about alternative to the diesel. So biodiesel is a very good option, and we have reached up to in our loaders or our transit mixtures, we are consuming or blending nearly 40% biodiesel, which is a big saving as compared and reducing the diesel consumption. So a lot of innovation has been done because of a compulsion to be a sustainable and competitive in the marketplace. So sometimes either nature will teach you, or sometimes your competitor will teach you how to survive. So survival is the best strategy, and this is the way I think ESG is a part of the survival strategy.
No, well put. No, well put, Mr. Desai. I think you covered a lot of ground there in terms of all those various aspects. I guess this is a journey which is just beginning, and I guess all the bits. I think, as you mentioned, technology and also interestingly data. I think getting the right data, capturing the right data. You talked about the load utilization, optimization. It's interesting how we are also seeing a lot of data being requested from our Dun & Bradstreet Data Cloud on things which may make all that very relevant and make it easier for corporates to manage their carbon footprint better as well. So well put on that, sir. In terms of, just before I open it up to questions, because we don't have too much time, Mr. Deshpande, if you're still there, I know you are a very big crusader for ESG. Do you have any comments on this, sir?
No, I tend to agree with what has been already mentioned on this topic, but I would just say that I think we have to look at this as a very fundamental issue. The goal is that what is business about and who are we doing business for? So the traditional sort of view has been that, okay, you work for the shareholders, but I think that has been extended very significantly towards looking at stakeholders. And all the stakeholders are important for the success of the business, and all stakeholders are interested in ensuring that we as businesses take responsibility for the future of our planet and our services, and we cannot be flippant about it. Employees are asking what we are doing about, how do we care about our environment, our vendors, customers, families, everyone cares about this. And as businesses, we cannot just be consumers, but we have to contribute to the wellness of our planet. And we have to take this view and not be dependent on just short-term profits or short goals. And this is something that all responsible companies are starting to think about. And this is a very important topic in all the boardroom discussions and even in customer meetings. So customers are not interested in working with partners if you are not willing to make these kinds of commitments on a long-term basis for what could happen to our planet, our environment, our society, our governance, and all of these kinds of things. So yeah, this has become front and center.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deshpande. So Kanika, you really led the discussion going on that front. So thank you for that. So maybe we have a few minutes. I don't know, Naina, if you have any questions or
Avinash, I'm just itching to make one last comment,
please,
actually.
Of course, ladies first and ladies last always. Go ahead.
So the more I absorb myself into ESG, the more I realize that, somewhere the competence of people handling ESG also needs to be viewed very importantly, because, at the end of the day, we are double hatting as people who are managing finance and now also looking at ESG. People who are managing, CSR and also looking at ESG. People looking at comms, talking about ESG. There has to be core competence on the subject. A person who understands the value of ESG can therefore then bring in that relevance of, the material aspect of ESG into business. As long as this is an add-on function, and it will always continue to be an add-on.
Agreed.
And therefore, financial is important. Ab non-financial bhi karna hai. But that's not the point. Non-financial at the moment is driving the financial. So you need experts to come in, and somewhere historically the 2008 recession was funneled because of lack of competence in understanding some of the trends that were going. So I think we should learn from history and also see how we can mainstream ESG with competence and get the right people to run the show for organizations.
No,
Can I
well,
comment, Avinash? Yeah, sorry to disturb your timelines. Yeah,
no,
we've
no
used
problem.
we at Controllers have used ESG as a differentiator. Right from the beginning of the company, we said we will innovate and we will be the energy efficiency leader, not only in the country, globally, which is what we evolved. But during the whole thing, we have not done any investment which has not been recovered in abundance. What I mean to say is that the ROI of all our green projects has been quite substantial. And how do I say it? Let's take the power usage in a data center. We are almost 20% less power we consume. Significant bottom line.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yes, it is. It is huge. And generally, the boards, the decision makers think green projects means money down the drain, which is not true at all. All the things our Mr. Desai has said that they are implementing, each of those, there are savings, there are dollars, apart from contributing to the environment. We have hundreds of case studies like that, and where one simple example I'll give you. Till in the past, we used to do a data center building, and we used to invest a lot of money on the facade. Right? The latest one that we have done in Bombay, we converted the whole facade into the solar, and that facade is earning money right now for the company, and not only reducing the carbon
combustion. Yeah. No, I think all, as Kanika is saying, I think there's a lot of knowledge to be shared. There's a lot of success stories and success transfer to be done, and people need to be become experts in it and drive possibly that change faster, because then you have some, I guess, change leaders available. For example, in your industry, the things you've done, if people can replicate, it'll be so much more faster. Then I'm very conscious of time. We have to end at 1:45 because that's the timeline we're going to all the panelists. Is there one or two questions which really stand out, which you want to kind of put forward to any other panelists specifically or generally? Please go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Avinash. And Sridhar, you almost stole my thunder because that was the first question that was asked. Everyone shared their views on ESG, and that was the first question that they said, they wanted to know what has Cloud4C and Controllers kind of done with respect to the ESG investment, which you've answered. So without further ado, I'll go to the next question. Next question is addressed to everyone, actually, no one in specific, which says, what would be the 5, actions leaders need to take to push their organizations towards creating a good, intelligent enterprise? So, anybody can take a stab at it. It's a generic question, but they want 5 action points.
Maybe one each, if just to save time, we'll take one each from everybody. This will add up 5. Just starting in after Sridhar, I've got Kanika on the alphabetical list in terms of, Kanika, you want to go first and the first point? Because I have 5 other people besides Sridhar, so that'll be 5 points.
For me, I think it's just respecting your reality, people and environment.
Well put.
It makes you future fit.
Well put. Subodh?
This is something, which I touched upon in my opening remarks, and I stick to it: noble intention, credible action, and appropriate communication.
Start right at the top. Great. Atul, Desai?
I think the innovation. People have to keep the mind open and ready to learn and very fast to de-learn.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Dr. Deshpande?
Yes, so I'll add to this. So it's like communicate with everyone and include everyone as part of it. This is not a individual or a company or a ESG team mission. It's every person's mission, and this is something that we all need to do.
Oh, fantastic. So easily said, but so difficult to do, and so few people can do that. But well said, Dr. Deshpande. Mr. Agarwal?
Yeah, so once again, same with digital digitalization. Once again, digital or analytics is not a department. Every individual and every employee has to adopt it, has to believe in it, and change certain habits, because habits are difficult to change. And that's the biggest problem that each corporate faces. We get a lot of tools, we got a lot of processes, but definitely getting the best out of it is something that we still strive for.
So there we have to run another panel discussion, Mr. Agarwal, for you to tell us how you've done it, how you made those habits change, because it's so difficult. Even in a small organization like mine with 700 people, we struggle. So it'd be great to hear. I think, Naina, that's fine. I think we are quarter to an hour on the clock. I really don't want to take other people's time beyond what we committed. So thank you, Kanika. Thank you, gentlemen, for all the time this afternoon. I really personally very much enjoyed the candor and the discussion. Really learned a lot. So really appreciate it. Again, on behalf of all the people who participated and behalf of Dun & Bradstreet and my colleagues, thank you so much again. And
Thanks.
hope we can connect soon. And we hope growth in our economy and each of your organizations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Avinash Gupta, for wonderfully anchoring the discussion. This has truly been a valuable discussion with some fantastic takeaways. In continuation to, Avinash, I would like to add another concluding sentence saying that please be rest assured that you will be getting, a crisp summary of our discussion. Watch out for an email from us. We will be reaching out soon to you. Thank you very much for your time. And with this, we bring our virtual event to a close. And this is Naina Acharya signing off. Today's session wouldn't have been a success without the active participation of all you esteemed panelists and delegates. So I thank you wholeheartedly and I would like to thank each and every person who spent time joining this session. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.